There is a piece of advice you have heard your entire life, and it sounds so obviously correct that almost nobody stops to question it. Save time and save money. Be careful with both. Waste neither. It feels like wisdom. But here is what I want you to sit with today because it quietly changes everything. Time and money are not the same thing, and treating them like they are is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. The wealthy figured this out a long time ago. They do not just save time, they buy it. And once you understand the exact math behind that, you will never look at an hour of your life the same way again. Let me start with the uncomfortable truth that the whole video rests on. You can always make more money. You can never, under any circumstances, make more time. Money is renewable. A bad year can be followed by a good one. A lost dollar can be earned back tomorrow. But the hour you spent this morning is simply gone permanently, and there is no version of your life where you get it back. And yet look at how we actually behave. We will drive across town to save $4 on gas. We will spend an hour comparing two nearly identical products to save $6. We guard our money down to the last cent, and then we give away our hours, the one thing we can never replace, completely for free. So the first thing the wealthy do is something almost nobody else does. They put a real number on an hour of their time. Let me show you how, because this number is the key to everything that follows. The median American worker earns about $25.67 an hour. But your true rate, your effective hourly rate, is a little different. Take a salaried worker earning $75,000 a year with a few weeks of vacation. When you divide their real income by the real hours they actually work, it comes out to roughly $38 an hour. That number, whatever yours is the most important number in your financial life that you have probably never calculated. Because it is the exchange rate between your time and your money. And the moment you know it, a hidden decision rule appears. Here is the rule. If a task can be handed to someone else for less than your hourly rate, and you would use the reclaimed hour on something worth more, then handing it off is not a splurge. It is a profitable trade. Sit with that because it is the opposite of how most of us were raised to think. If you value your time at $50 an hour and you spend that hour doing a chore yourself to save $40, you did not save money. You just paid yourself $40 to lose an hour you value at $50. You took a loss and called it being frugal. Now let me show you how many of these hours we are actually giving away because the totals are staggering. According to the government's own time use survey, women spend an average of 12.5 hours every week on housework, cooking, and cleaning. Men spend under 6. That is a part-time job, unpaid, every single week for years. Then there is the commute. The average one-way commute is about 27 minutes, which is nearly an hour a day round trip. That adds up to more than 4 hours a week, which is nearly 9 full days a year. Read that again. The average worker spends the equivalent of their entire 2-week vacation just sitting in traffic getting to and from work. Over a full career, it adds up to more than an entire year of your life spent commuting. And that commute costs money too. When you add up the car, the fuel, the wear, and the lost time, the average worker loses around $9,400 a year just getting to their job. So we have hours pouring out of our lives. 15, 20, 25 hours a week on tasks that produce nothing we actually care about. And here is the part that should genuinely surprise you, because it is backed by real research, not just opinion. In 2017, a team of researchers published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They surveyed more than 6,000 people across 4 countries. And the finding was clear and consistent. People who spend money on time-saving services report greater life satisfaction. Not more stuff, more time. They even proved it was causal with an experiment. Working adults were measurably happier after spending money to save time than after spending the same money on a physical object. But here is the line from that study that I cannot stop thinking about. When researchers offered people a small windfall, only about 2% of them chose to spend it in a way that saved them time. 2%. Even among people who could easily afford it, almost nobody buys time. It is the single most underused money move that exists. The wealthy are simply the small group who do it on purpose. So let me walk you through exactly how they do it, with real numbers, from the easiest door to the most ambitious. The first route is the simplest. Outsource the one recurring chore you hate the most. Not all of them. 1. A house cleaning service runs somewhere between about $118 and $238 a visit, and it drops a little if you book it every 2 weeks. If that frees up 3 or 4 hours that you value at $40 or $50 an hour, the math flips positive almost immediately. You are not being lavish. You are buying back a chunk of your weekend at a discount to what your time is worth. The trick is to start with the single chore you dread, the one that quietly ruins your Sunday. Just that one. The second route is to buy back your kitchen. Between meal planning, shopping, cooking, and cleanup, feeding yourself can eat 10 or more hours a week. Meal kits run about $5 to $15 a serving, and grocery delivery usually costs a small flat fee. Here is the reframe. You are not paying for the food. You already have to pay for food. You are paying a few dollars to delete the 90-minute store trip and the mental load of planning. That is the actual product. Yep. The third route is the big one, and it is often free. Kill the commute, not the job. Remember, that commute is unpaid time and it can cost you 9 days a year. If you can negotiate even one work-from-home day a week, you reclaim about an hour that day, which is roughly 45 hours a year for $0. And if you are ever choosing where to live, price the commute honestly. Paying a bit more in rent to live closer can actually pencil out when you count the 9 days a year of your life you are buying back. Before I go on, I want to name the thing that stops most people from ever doing any of this, because it is not really about the money. It is guilt. There is a voice that says a capable adult should be able to clean their own house, cook their own meals, and handle their own errands. That paying someone else to do it is lazy or spoiled or a waste. I understand that voice because most of us were raised on it. But look at what it is actually costing you. That voice is not protecting your money. It is quietly charging you the most valuable hours of your week and calling it virtue. Nobody hands you a medal at the end of your life for the number of floors you mopped. The wealthy simply stopped listening to that voice earlier than everyone else. They decided that being good with money meant using it to protect their time, not to prove they could suffer through chores they could easily hand off. Now let me pause here because I genuinely want your answer to this. Think about the single chore you hate the most, the one you have been avoiding all week. Now imagine a stranger offered to do that chore for you forever, so you never have to touch it again. What would you pay them a month to make it disappear? Whatever number just popped into your head, that number is what an hour of your freedom is actually worth to you. It is usually a lot higher than we admit. Tell me that chore in the comments. I read them, and honestly, it often becomes the next video. The fourth route costs nothing at all. Automate your money admin. Auto pay on the bills, automatic transfers to savings, automatic investing on payday. A couple of hours of setup one time buys back the hours you spend every single month moving money around and, as a bonus, kills the late fees you occasionally forget. Set it once, and it pays you back in reclaimed time for the rest of your life. And the fifth route is to pay for the express lane on the things that steal whole days. A program like TSA PreCheck costs about $78 for 5 years, and it deletes the single most stressful hour of every trip. A direct flight, instead of a connection, can cost a little more and give you back half a day plus your sanity. The premium is almost always small when you measure it against the hours and the stress it erases. Let me make all of this concrete with one worked example, because the numbers land differently when you see them add up. Picture someone who values their time at $40 an hour. They decide to do just two things. They hire a cleaner twice a month for about $200, which gives back roughly 6 hours. And they switch to grocery delivery, which gives back about 4 hours. That is 10 hours a month reclaimed for a cost of, let us say, $250 all in. 10 hours at $40 an hour is $400 of value returned for $250 spent. But that is only the visible half. What actually matters is what those 10 hours become. Over a year, that is 120 hours, which is 3 full working weeks of your life handed back to you. 3 weeks, not to scrub a floor or push a cart, but to spend on your health, your side project, your kids, or simply doing nothing on purpose. You cannot buy those 3 weeks back later at any price. You can only choose right now whether to keep giving them away for a couple $100 you would probably not even miss. Now step back and notice what all 5 of these have in common, because this is the mental model I actually want you to keep. In every single case, you are trading a smaller amount of money for a larger amount of something that money cannot buy back. That is the entire game. The wealthy are not reckless spenders. They are precise about it. They ruthlessly cut spending on things they do not care about, and then they deliberately spend on the one thing that is truly finite. They buy their time back, and then they reinvest that time into the things that actually make a life feel rich. Their health, their people, their work, their rest. And this principle scales far beyond chores. It is why they pay an accountant instead of wrestling with taxes for a weekend. It is why they hire the expert instead of watching 40 tutorials. It is why they will happily pay to remove friction from their day, because they have internalized the one truth that most people spend their whole lives ignoring. Money is a tool for buying time, not a scoreboard for hoarding it. The person with $10 million and no free hours is not winning. They just have an expensive prison. So let me leave you with the reframe that this whole thing has been building toward. Saving money was never really the goal. A life with room to breathe in it, that was the goal. Room to rest, to think, to be with the people you love without a chore list running in the back of your mind. And that room has a price tag a lot closer to a cleaning service or one work-from-home day than to being rich. The only thing standing between most people and their own time was the belief that guarding every single dollar was the same thing as being smart with money. It isn't, it never was, and now you know the math. If this changed how you think about 1 hour you have been giving away for free, there are a lot more of these, the real math behind the life you actually want. Subscribe, and let's keep decoding it together.